Tonight on News 22.
The number of asylum seekers crossing into the U.S. is spiking once again.
A new restaurant in El Paso challenges the concept of Mexican food.
And find out the heart-healthy benefits of eating breakfast.
All that and more on News 22 Wednesday.
Serving southern New Mexico, this is the award-winning KRWG-TV News 22, where news matters.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Adán Contreras.
And I'm Victoria Valderrama. The migrant crisis is taking a new toll as 100 more migrants are being detained.
2 large groups were detained at the border on Tuesday, one group near Sunland Park and the other near Antelope Wells. Customs and Border Patrol said most were Central American families, along with some unaccompanied minors. Officials say there were around 600 people total. The first group was apprehended just after midnight and the second around 2 a.m. Border Patrol did not state in their release if the migrants are seeking asylum.
While we're seeing a spike in the number of asylum seekers, other cities in New Mexico are lending a hand.
A state expo in Albuquerque is stepping in and offering temporary housing. Nancy Laughlin has the story.
Now, instead of providing temporary housing for future farmers of America, it will be a shelter for the hundreds of migrants traveling through New Mexico.
We have a humanitarian crisis, and I got a call from the governor's office and said, "Hey, Dan, we have this happening. What can Expo do?"
Dan Morning is the general manager of Expo New Mexico. He says the fairgrounds has a dorm. He showed us around and said staffers are getting the place ready for the arrival of the migrants who will stay here a day or two until they travel to their next destination. There are a lot of beds and a bathroom.
The first thing they want to do when they get off the bus, obviously, is take a shower, is what the volunteers told us.
Morning says volunteers are providing food, medical care, and toiletries for the dozens of people who will soon be passing through here. City and state leaders who are supporting this say they believe it's better the migrants stay here than wander the streets of Albuquerque. Now, instead of providing temporary housing,
Organizers say the fairgrounds can house up to 220 to 250 people at a time. Any other events at the facility will not be interrupted.
Lawmakers are in another showdown with President Donald Trump. President Trump has asked Congress for $4.5 billion to address a humanitarian crisis at the U.S.-Mexico border. The proposed money is not for the border wall he keeps promising, but rather the money would go to handle the massive amounts of migrants entering the U.S. Overall, the funding would cover 3 aspects. Over $3 billion would go to humanitarian assistance, about $1 billion for border operations, and $178 million for missionary support. Border Patrol agents have apprehended over 92,000 immigrants trying to cross the border illegally in March, which is the highest month in 12 years.
Well, these past few days we've really been seeing a spike in those temperatures.
It really has been, but we can finally put the coats away.
That's right.
And Amanda is next with the first look at weather.
I don't know about you, Vicki, but I'm kind of sad I'm putting those boots away, but they definitely should be. We've been seeing sunny skies, a temperature today of 82 degrees. We saw some winds at 13 miles per hour from the west. Our humidity sits at 11%, our dew point at 22 degrees, and our barometer at 29.76 inches. Today's high was 85, a little bit above our average of 83. Tonight's low of 51. Back in the year 2002, we saw a record high of 92. We were almost close to breaking that today. 1967, a record low of 33. We saw no rain, lots of sun today, so our yearly rainfall sits at 0.75 inches. That's all I have right now for your weather. I'll be back later to talk about your national forecast. For now, back to the desk.
Congressional confrontation. Democrats demand Attorney General William Barr's resignation after Special Counsel Robert Mueller criticized Barr's actions.
The Attorney General defended his summary of the Mueller report and his conclusion on President Trump did not obstruct justice. Omar Jimenez is on Capitol Hill with highlights from the congressional hearing.
Contention on Capitol Hill as Democrats denounce Attorney General Bill Barr's handling of the Russia investigation.
You lied to Congress.
Minutes before Barr's testimony, the Justice Department released a March letter from Special Counsel Robert Mueller. In it, Mueller says Barr's summary of the investigation and conclusion the president did not obstruct justice, quote, did not fully capture the context, nature, and substance of this office's work and conclusions.
I decided to simply state what the bottom line conclusions were. Is there a crime or isn't there a crime?
Was there an underlying crime here?
No.
Democrats pounced.
If you received a letter from Bob Mueller a few days after your March 24th letter, it was clear he had some genuine concerns about what you had said and done to that point.
Yeah, his concerns was he wanted more ads. I'm not trying to capture everything. I'm just trying to state the verdict.
2016.
Republicans say the focus shouldn't be on Barr or the president, but on protecting future elections.
My takeaway from this report is that we've got a lot of work to do to defend democracy against the Russians and other bad actors.
On Capitol Hill, I'm Omar Jimenez.
New Mexico Representative Ben Ray Lujan is concerned. He thinks that Attorney General Bill Barr is not doing his job correctly.
This is both concerning and not surprising, Aaron. This is the problem when Bill Barr acts as the personal attorney to the president as opposed to the Attorney General of the United States of America. And tomorrow there's going to be a lot of very important, tough questions that have to be asked and that must be answered.
Attorney General Barr is not expected to testify before the House Judiciary Committee tomorrow. Democrats vow to hold the hearing regardless if Barr is willing or not. Las Cruces Middle School is recovering from a potential threat. Vista Middle School was on lockdown for 45 minutes this morning. The school was placed on lockdown 3 days after a threat against Gadsden Middle School was made. Police have identified students involved in the Vista Middle School incident and are gathering information.
Self-proclaimed patriot groups in New Mexico want to overturn new laws passed by the state legislature. The Eddy County Patriots want to overturn laws that protect wildlife and another that replaces Columbus Day with a day to honor Native Americans. Other patriot groups want to overturn stricter gun laws. They hope to get the questions on the ballot in 2020 to let the people vote on them. LCPD will be on the lookout for intoxicated drivers this month. The department has already scheduled 2 sobriety checkpoints and 8 saturation patrols. LCPD encourages people who are consuming alcoholic beverages to use a sober designated driver.
When you think of the border, you think of authentic and delicious Mexican food. But what if you like Mexican food and you're vegan?
That could be tough because being a vegan means you don't eat meat or any animal products. News 22's Diana Castillo just might have an answer for you.
Meat is the center of Mexican food, but there's a place in downtown El Paso that challenges that. Zona Centro is a vegan-friendly Mexican restaurant that caters to everyone's taste buds.
Zona is one of those places where everybody can eat. If you're a vegetarian, you're vegan, if you have allergies, if you're going through diets, if you are, if you're being very picky, you can only eat certain types of meats, or you can only eat certain types of vegetables. We're that type of place where we'll cook a complete meal designed just for you, without leaving everybody out.
The dishes are created using plant-based products like seitons and jackfruit as substitutes for meat. The tortillas are even made by hand using hibiscus.
And we could make Mexican vegan food because we just use the same flavors from the non-vegan side and we move them over to the vegan side, just not using any animal products.
The menu is expanding. Just recently, they created a vegan version of chicharrón verde, which is traditionally made of pork skin. Owners Manuel Barquin and Javier Ramos don't plan on making Zona exclusively vegan. Traditional dishes are also prepared. They believe the heart of Mexican food should be for everyone to enjoy. For News 22, I'm Diana Castillo.
Zona has plans for expansion. We may even see them in Las Cruces for a quick pop-up. And stay tuned, Amanda will be back with your national forecast.
But first, why is breakfast the most important meal of the day? More on that when News 22 continues.
They're trying to reach Eric. We are obligated under the court order to make sure that he takes the medication.
Maybe they think I'll kill myself, but I'm not planning on doing that, and I've told them that before.
Eric is too sick to be able to decide whether the medication will help him or not. In most mental commitment cases, that's the end of it.
Please encourage him to come in.
Sunday at 5 p.m. on KRWG Public Media.
Join us for KRWG's Beer Confidential at the Rio Grande Theater Friday, May 3rd at 7. Doors open at 5:30. A live on-stage discussion about the science of craft beer with free beer sampling and live jazz music outdoors. The live broadcast will be heard on KRWG-FM and KRWG.org.
Welcome back. You're watching News 22 Wednesday,
where news matters.
They say breakfast is the most important meal of the day.
And now there's a new research supporting the idea that breakfast may have huge benefits for your heart health. In today's Health Minute, James Denon has a closer look.
You might want to think twice about skipping breakfast. Whether you eat breakfast could be linked to a higher risk of dying from heart disease. That's according to a new study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. Researchers found that people who never eat breakfast had an 87% higher risk of dying from a cardiovascular disease compared with people who start each day with a meal. Researchers say the link was significant and independent of socioeconomic status, body mass index, and cardiovascular risk. The authors say the research provides evidence to that breakfast may in fact be the most important meal of the day. Researchers say the study links skipping breakfast to heart disease risk factors like diabetes, hypertension, and lipid disorders. Experts point out that meal skipping in the study is not the same as practicing intermittent fasting. That's when you cycle between several hours of not eating and then have regular meals in a smaller time window. Some studies suggest intermittent fasting can reduce the risk of obesity and its related diseases such as diabetes and cancer. For today's Health Minute, I'm James Dinan.
According to the World Health Organization, cardiovascular disease, specifically heart disease and stroke, is the leading cause of death in the world.
A new study suggests that children can be reliably diagnosed with autism earlier than is now recommended. Autism is a spectrum disorder that can affect social skills, behavior, and communication abilities. Current guidelines state that children can start being screened between 18 and 24 months old. But in a new study published in the medical journal JAMA Pediatrics, autism detection and diagnosis can start with high accuracy at just 14 months old. Researchers say that could lead to children with autism having the opportunity to start therapies early. They say it could help their development on school.
The Food and Drug Administration is strengthening warnings about some commonly used sleep aids. Sleeping pills marketed under the names Lunesta, Sonata, and Ambien will require new black box warnings for potentially dangerous side effects. There have been reports of rare but serious injuries and deaths resulting from sleepwalking, sleep driving, and other complex behaviors by people who took the popular drugs. The FDA says 20 deaths have been blamed on the pills. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, some 4% of adults have used prescription sleep aids in the past month.
A Houston high school held its first PTO meeting since implementing a dress code for parents.
Earlier this month, the principal asked parents to comply with the new dress code in an effort to teach their children how they should look when leaving the house. Myra Moreno spoke with parents on both sides of the issue.
The meeting started at 6, and as you can see, it's almost 9 o'clock. It was a very heated, everybody wanted to speak.
Madison High School parent Tanika Thomas says Tuesday's PTO meeting was a big mix of concerns, mainly dealing with students' education. There were many issues on hand.
It's a lot going on.
Some parents like her did say they are frustrated with the way the new principal, Carlotta Brown, is handling certain situations like the parent dress code. She wishes it could have been discussed instead of forcing it upon them.
She's handling it like in your face.
I hope that they would understand what I'm trying to do.
This month, Principal Brown sent a letter to parents explaining a new dress code policy after she said some were showing up and revealing clothing. To name a few, the parents' dress code explains no pajamas, no shower caps, no hair rollers. Other parents are backing her up 100%.
I mean, I don't have an issue with it because I feel like if you're coming to the school to conduct business, then you should dress like you're coming to conduct business, not like you're going hanging out at your friend's house or something.
Casey Lewis explained that some students have even been bullied because of the way their parents dress. And now that this has made national headlines, she hopes this sets an example for other schools. Mayra Moreno, ABC 13 Eyewitness News.
Temperatures have been rising here in Las Cruces.
That's right, and with those rising temperatures, we've seen a few more heat strokes.
And Amanda can tell us more on that next with the weather.gov national forecast.
That's right. We definitely have been seeing more of those heat strokes, and I have a few tips to help prevent them. First of all, always make sure that you have a cold water bottle on hand. You do not want to get dehydrated in these warmer temperatures. Second, make sure that you avoid heavy exercise midday. Do it in the morning or the late evening. And protect yourself against sunburn. I know that's what I do. I always have my trusty umbrella. It is my best friend during these summer months, and it helps protect me from the sun. I also always make sure to lather up in that sunscreen. And finally, try and just stay indoors as much as you possibly can. Now, we're not the only ones trying to beat the heat. As you'll see here in my second map, this heat index map, everybody is trying to beat the heat right now. 84 in El Paso, 86 in Arizona, and 86 in San Antonio. We are definitely seeing those warmer conditions, so make sure that you listen to my tips so you can avoid getting those heat strokes. Now, I'll be back after the break to talk your local conditions, but for now, let's take a break.
On Masterpiece. Are you the felon, Jean Valjean?
Where is Cosette?
I advise you to stay away from me.
Child should be able to play now and then.
Some people should learn to mind their own business.
Les Miserables on Masterpiece.
Thursday at 8 p.m. on KRWG-Public Media. Join an all-star salute to Gloria and Emilio Estefan, the 2019 recipients of the Library of Congress Gershwin Prize for Popular Song, with performances by Cyndi Lauper, Patti LaBelle, Jose Feliciano, Andy Garcia, Rita Moreno, Emily Estefan, and the cast of On Your Feet. Friday at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. Let's go ahead and take a look at our temperatures across New Mexico. Farmington, you're looking at 62 degrees. Clovis at 80 degrees. Socorro at 81. Roswell, the warmest on our map, at 88. Las Cruces at 82. And Deming at 82 as well. Tomorrow, Farmington, you're going to see a high of 69, a bit cooler. Santa Fe, 66. Ruidoso at 70. Roswell, cooler at 78. Here in Las Cruces, we'll be seeing 86. Deming, you're looking at 83. And in Alamogordo, clear skies tonight, 52 for your low. Tomorrow, seeing those sunny skies, 83 for your high. Truth or Consequences, a low tonight of 53, a high tomorrow of 85. Silver City, you'll also be seeing those clear skies, 44 for your low tonight. Tomorrow, lots of sunshine, 74 for your high. And here at home, clear skies tonight at 51. Tomorrow, a warm high of 85 with lots of sunny skies. I'll be back later to talk your 5-day forecast, but for now, back to Adon and Vicky.
Thanks, Mandy. A chemical plant is burning again after a fire that took place last month.
Intercontinental Terminals Company in Deer Park, Texas is now facing criminal environmental charges. Gabe Chavez has more on this with today's Southwest Minute.
The Harris County District Attorney has filed 5 charges against the ITC company. The fire last month lasted 4 days before it was finally put out. The fire damaged the facility and polluted the Galveston Bay. Large amounts of toxic chemicals also leaked into the Tucker Bayou. The chemical company could face up to $100,000 in fines. Preparations for Memorial Day are underway in Washington, D.C. As part of the ceremony, 371 names are being added to the National Law Enforcement Memorial. With the new additions, the total number of names on the memorial will be up to 21,910 names. One TV show is going out with a big bang. The cast of the hit show The Big Bang Theory signed their names and placed their handprints in front of the TCL Chinese Theater in Los Angeles. The show is winding up 12 successful seasons. The show's 279th and final episode is set to air May 16th. I'm Gabriel Chavez with the Southwest Minute.
So, what's going on in the world of sports?
Well, I know the baseball team had a big win last night against Arizona.
And Michaela Romero has the details next with sports.
Thanks, guys. Coming up in sports, the men's tennis season has come to an end, and the women's tennis team are WAC champions for the second time in history. You can toss that remote because News 22 Sports is next.
We are go at this time.
Ignition sequence start.
10, 9,
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition.
we have liftoff.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Friday at 9:30 p.m.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
Saturday at 9 p.m.
This is KRWG-TV News 22 Sports.
Welcome back. I'm Michaela Romero, and let's talk sports. The NMSU baseball team is celebrating a huge win. The Aggies defeated the University of Arizona last night in a high-scoring game for the first time since 2012. Earlier in the season, the Aggies lost to the Wildcats 10-14, but not this time. This time around, the Aggies prevailed and defeated the Wildcats 15-13. Their next game will be at home against UT Rio Grande Valley on Friday. And the softball team is also coming off of a win from last night. The footage you are watching is from a previous game this season. New Mexico State took on number 17, Texas Tech, in a doubleheader yesterday. The Aggies and the Raiders split the doubleheader, with the Red Raiders winning the first game 9-5 and the Aggies winning the second game 8-2. The Aggies are now looking ahead to their next series in Bakersfield, California against the Roadrunners. The New Mexico State men's tennis team capped off their season this Sunday with a tough 4-3 loss to Grand Canyon in the WAC championship. The men have had a solid season with an overall record of 15 wins and 10 losses. The men's will be saying their farewells to their 4 seniors. Hopefully, the incoming recruits will be able to help the Aggies do even better for next season. It's been a solid senior year for Aggie golfer Mike McGilton, and now he's celebrating receiving first team All-WAC honors. McGilton ranked 6th in the conference for stroke average and won the Herb Wembley Invitational this season. He also helped NMSU to 6 top 5 finishes this past season. And the New Mexico State women's track team is back from Tucson after competing at the Desert Heat Classic. This week they are on a bye week preparing for the WAC championships in Utah. The women will head out next Thursday for a tough weekend of competition, and hopefully they will come back as WAC champions. And that's all for sports tonight. Join us for more sports action tomorrow. Still ahead on News 22, Mandy will be back to take a look at your 5-day forecast. But first, take out your end of semester stress on something other than your paper. More on that when News 22 returns.
This week on Central Texas Gardener, get your fruit growing tips. Texas A&M Extension Fruit Specialist Jim Comas has your answers for homegrown organic harvest. On tour, the community comes together to feed themselves and the neighbors at the Festival Beach Community Garden and Food Forest. Daphne answers your top question, and Zach Halfin demonstrates peach tree pruning. So let's get growing.
Saturday at 2 p.m. on KRWG-Public Media.
On Cool the Midwife.
You are clearly in a lot of pain, and I am going to call an ambulance.
Mother Mildred, we wasn't expecting you.
I'm not going to talk about Cyril.
Why not?
He's not the person I thought he was.
I'd like to rule out anthrax.
Bloody hell.
Sunday at 7 p.m.
Let's take a look at our top stories. There has been a spike in the number of asylum seekers throughout New Mexico. This means more temporary housing for them. Diana Castillo visited Zone Centro, a vegan-friendly Mexican restaurant. And in today's Health Minute, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Skipping breakfast can lead to a higher risk of dying from a heart disease.
Finals week has many students on edge and stressed, but one group on campus set up a smashing display to help ease these tensions. KRUX radio station put on a fundraiser today that came at a much-needed time to de-stress students. This is the radio station's first time putting on a car bash event. The car was donated by Reviver Printing, and the event was also used to help promote live artists and music. KRUX radio station is a student-run and funded radio station here at NMSU.
Well, I didn't get a chance to go, but I saw everyone out there.
Yeah, that's right. I heard all the music, all the smashing. It sounded like a party over there.
I wish I could go.
Yep,
Yeah,
fun.
We should have gone.
But Mandy, tell us about the next 5 days.
Well, like I was saying, it's going to continue to get warmer as the days continue. We're going to be seeing those sunny skies most of the week, and 91 on Sunday, so pretty warm, spring-like conditions, pretty much summer conditions already.
Yep,
I know, it's starting
May
to
1st.
heat up. I know, it's starting to heat up.
Warm temperatures.
It's like we got to throw away those jackets now and start bringing out that summer clothes.
Unfortunately.
And don't forget, you can catch all of today's aired stories and past newscasts on our YouTube page at youtube.com/KRWG News 22.
And follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for show updates and the latest on what the News 22 team is up to. And that's all for News 22 Wednesday. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight.
Tune in tomorrow for our last show of the semester. For more news across the Southwest, I'm Victoria Valderrama.
I'm Adán Contreras.
I'm Amanda Adame.
I'm Michaela Romero.
Good night.
Good night.
This news brief in Español is brought to you by Noticias 22, Spanish language news for southern New Mexico and West Texas. Noticias 22.
Bienvenidos a este breve informativo de Noticias 22. Con ustedes, Francisco Soto. Agentes de la patrulla fronteriza de los Estados Unidos detuvieron a 2 grupos de migrantes en Nuevo México ayer en la madrugada. Estos grupos, la mayoría del grupo, son familiares de Centroamérica y jóvenes no acompañados. En Sunland Park, agentes detuvieron un grupo de más de 400 migrantes después de la medianoche. Mientras esto sucedió en Sunland Park, los agentes de la patrulla fronteriza en el puerto de entrada de Antelope Wells, en el oeste de Columbus, Nuevo México, arrestaron a otro grupo de más de 200 migrantes a las 2 de la mañana. Este grupo también estaba compuesto de familias centroamericanas y menores no acompañados. La Casa Blanca le está pidiendo al Congreso más de $4,000 millones para fondos para que sean apropiados para la frontera. La solicitud del dinero incluye $3,000 millones para la asistencia humanitaria y $1,000 millones para operaciones fronterizas. Oficiales dicen que el dinero no se utilizará para el financiamiento de cualquier milla adicional del muro. El presidente Trump declaró una emergencia nacional este año para asegurar fondos para el muro, que no fue aprobado por el Congreso. El Departamento de Seguridad Nacional de los Estados Unidos dice que se agotará el dinero para las operaciones de las fronteras al final de este año si no se asegura más dinero. Para Noticias 22, Francisco Soto.